Okay. So we got up to the Mishna, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this Mishna lately has been becoming much more popular.
Which Mishna? Which Mishna?
Yutes Amud Aleph.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's becoming much more popular. It used to be this Shiloh was, guys that go from guys in Yeshiva in Yerushalayim, and they go to Bnei Brak for the first day, right? For the first day of Purim, or those type of things. Now, but people are flying. I don't know what the pshat is, but people are flying on Purim to they start Purim off here and then they fly off to Yerushalayim, right? That's what's lately. That's been these type of that, but that's the shiloh that comes up from this mission. So Ben Ir, so somebody from a city, right? Which a city means not walled. Shahalach lekrach, and he goes to a walled city. The Chain krach. Shahalach le'ir, and then a ben krach, I'm sorry, shahalach le'ir, and somebody from a walled city that goes to a regular city. So now, if he's going to go back to his home, he reads like his regular place. Bimlav, meaning because he's going to be back in his place on Tesvav or Yudala. Bimlav karimam, and if not, then he has to read. He has to keep Purim with the place that he is. So, okay, we'll wait to the Gemara to discuss it. And then a different machlekes. Where does a person read the Megillah? And the Yaitz is Fi Megillah. Rameir, I'm a cooler. Rameir says you have to read the entire Megillah. Rabbi Yehuda, Ish Yehudi. Rabbi Yehuda says from Ish Yehudi. And Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, from the Parag Gimel right before Haman. So basically, we're going to see in the Gemara that the first sheet that says it's going with Achashverosh, because that's from the beginning. The second one says it's going with Mordechai. And the third sheet that says that the main thing is that it has to go with Haman. Okay, so it's only when he's going to come back on Leile Yudalit.
Jacob, right? How does that work with yesterday? What we said about reading out of order with the Surugin and stuff. How does that come in over here?
What do you mean?
Because you're not reading in the order of the Megillah. You're starting and picking up pieces.
He's reading it straight.
What you talking about? The second part of the Mishnah?
He's reading straight.
The second part of the Mishnah, yeah.
So wherever he starts from, he's reading straight. They hold.
But if he starts Ish Yehudi, he missed the first
Yehudi. He's reading out of sequence. That's what we said yesterday.
He missed the first parak. He missed the first parak. Let's say.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Right. He's just starting from. Put it this way.
That's his first parak.
He would and he would have a very popular minion too. If you're sure with pasken like Acharat Bara Megilah, then that's when your Megillah starts where all the action starts, right? The third parak when Haman comes into the picture, so then you'd be very popular. Right? Yeah. So anyway, so Zog the Gemara. That's only if he's going to go home on Leil Yudalit. Then meaning, so this is talking about the Gemara is talking about where a guy who's in a wall, he lives in Yerushalayim, right? So really, his Purim is supposed to be Tesvav, but he doesn't want to miss out. So he says, you know what? Let's go to Bnei Brak for first night Purim, and then we'll come back, right? So the question is, when are they coming back? So the Gemara is saying that if he comes back already Purim morning, then he has to hear the Megillah. He has to hear the Megillah in Bnei Brak too. Right? If he's in Bnei Brak on Yud Dalet, and he has to hear, and he's going to sleep over, then he has to hear the Megillah in Bnei Brak too. Otherwise, he should make sure that he leaves before the night is over, before the 14th night is over. And there's a whole shaila in the pasken whether he has to hear the Megillah twice. So let's say he does stay over. Right? Let's say the guy goes to Bnei Brak for Yud Dalet, right? Then he goes to back to Yerushalayim. So now he has to do both. According to this, he has to do both, or he was already Yaitzer. So that's a big machlokes, whether he has to do both or he only does one. Fine. So Amarav, and we'll see that in another couple of minutes. Amarav, how do I know that if he stays overnight, then he has to read like Yudalit? It says, therefore, the Yehudim from the Prazim is another word for regular cities, unwalled cities. Hayoshvim that dwell in the Arei Prazis. Michti, Ksiv HaYehudim HaPrazim. Ksiv HaYehudim, it says Yehudim, right? HaPrazim, right? What does it need to say? The people from the cities who stay in the cities. Right? What is that necessary? The paras ben yaimai nikra paras. So what's teaching you is that even a person who is only a one day wonder, is that the phrase? No, 1 day, whatever, something like that.
One hit wonder.
One hit wonder. Okay, so this guy's a 1 day wonder. He's only in town for 1 day Purim. So that's considered like, if he slept over, that's considered like he's part of that town and he has to eat a Megillah. Fine. So then Ashkechan Paras Mukaf Minolan. So that only tells you that if you stay in a regular city, an unwalled city, so you're considered part of that city. But what happens if you stay over in a walled city? How do you know that you're considered part of that city? Svarahu, the paras ben yamai kari paras is a svara. If a paras ben yamai, somebody who just lives in an unwalled city for a day is considered living in a city that is considered living. So mukaf ben yamai kari mukaf. So somebody who's in a walled city for that day is also called a walled city. Fine. Ben kfar shalach li'ir. If a ben kfar, right, goes to a city now, ben kfar is the guys in the village. Remember from way back from Daf Beis. Those are the guys that are allowed to come in and lay in the Megilah on Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel. Right? They may come in on a Monday or a Thursday. So if he goes to the city, ben kach karimar, and then either way, whether he stays over that night or he doesn't stay over, he has to read. Meaning, if you have a guy from a village and he already read the Megilah on Monday, right? Because they will make up for him. Then he finds himself for Purim, he finds himself Wednesday in a regular city. So then he has to read the Megillah. If he's in the city, he has to read the Megillah. Now, Taisa says, and he quotes Rashi, and he explains Rashi that's even if he already read the Megillah on Monday. So according to this case, in this case, he for sure would have to read the Megillah twice. He did it on Monday. He's also going to have to read it on the day, on the regular Purim day too. So Kariman, he reads it to my timer. Really, he should have been reading it on the regular city Purim. But the Rabbanan, like we said, as a reward for the Kfarim giving business to the cities, so they let them go a day or 2 or 3 days early. In order that they should have enough water and food for their brothers that are in the cities. So then this kula that you only read the Megillah, that you're allowed to read the Megillah a few days early, that's if you're in the village, and that's it. But if you're in the regular city on Purim, then then you have to be a ben ir, meaning this is a kula, and it's a big kula, and it's meant for villages, right? But if you happen to find yourself, right, meaning they rewarded the villages that they don't have to schlep back in for Purim. Essentially, that's what went on. But if you're in there, if you're in this town, if you're in the city for Purim anyway, so what are you going to say? Oh, I have this kula that I read the Megilah 2 days ago. No, you have to.
It's the
You have to go to the Ikr Din. What are you saying?
That should be. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So that should be even if he doesn't sleep over. That should be even if he's there for a minute. The kula should be.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Gemara is saying. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, this is even if he doesn't stay over. If he happens to find himself, I guess in this case, he finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? If he happens to be by the night of Purim night, he happens to be found in a city, then yes, he's going to have to read it even what do you call it? Even if he's not going to stay over. Yeah?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The ones who were going on a caravan, they had to read from Rosh Chodesh, but they ended up coming back on Purim in time for Purim, so they'd have to read again on Purim, even though they read it already.
Well, 1 second. You're saying in which case?
The case where the people were able to read from Rosh Chodesh, they were going on a caravan, and they didn't think they were coming home for Purim.
Oh, you mean like that, and then they ended up back, or they ended up in a place.
Yeah.
And the Chanami, right? You got it right. So they decide they're going to be Zrizin and they're going to read it first, and then they realize that 100%. Right? That's fine. So Esvei Abaya Ben Krach Shahalach Leir Ben Kach or Ben Kach Karikim Akoyman. Oh, so what does this price to say? That a city guy, a Ben Krach, a walled city guy, goes to a regular city, Ben Krach or Ben Krach, he reads like his place. Ben Krach Sakadaita. Do you really think of Ben Krach? That it's how could it be talking about a Ben Krach? We said that it's Tullian when he's going back to his original place. You can't just say a blanket statement. So it's a stira. Elalav Ben Kfar must be a Kfar. Must be that a village person, when he goes to a city, does not have to read. He could read like his regular place. So the Gemara answers, "V'lav terutzim mitratzis." Didn't you say a teretz that even though it says Ben Krach, it really means a city? So Tani Kare mind. So then say what it means is he has to read with them. So basically, it's interesting teretz. The Gemara is saying once you changed it, so change the other way too. Right? Once you change the brisa to mean something different than what you said, then that's allowed. Yeah, so Me'echin Kara Adam is a Megillah. So where does a person read the Megillah from? So Tanya Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai Omer Mi Balayla Ahu. Right, so that's even later, right? Balayla Ahu is another parak, a two-prog, right? That's parak Hey, I think. Right? Another the Shnasim. Right? Yeah, 3 sheetas in the Mishnah. This is a 4th sheet that's even later. Yeah, so Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Bekul and Mikra Echad Darshu, they darshan the same pasuk. It says Vatichtav Esther Amalku Mordechai Yehudi is called Toikef, and Esther Amalku wrote it with all the power. Mandom Kula Toikva Shalach Hashverish. When the one that says you have to read the whole Megillah, the power that it's referring to is that the Megillah has to be read from an Achashverosh had the power, which is from the beginning of the Megillah. Mandom Meish Yehudi Toikva Shal Mordechai. Then it's really referring to the Toikva Mordechai. That's when Haman comes in. That's when the nace really started, right? Was when Achashverosh couldn't sleep, and that's when he started.
And so, according to the one who's by Haman, so why did they have the first 2 prakim? Why do we even have the first 2 prakim if we only care about Haman? Why is there first 2 prakim?
So we have it as written, but then Mechayev us. No, it needs to be written out the story. We have it out the story. But this that we have to read it in public, meaning what did they require us to have for the publicity of the miracle, right? That's what a machlokes is. That it needed to be written down. That we needed to have written down, right? It's just a matter of what was the strike taikif, right? What was the strength of the thing? What are we trying to publicize the most? So that's the machlokes. Just what's necessary to be publicized.
Is this lechatchila or b'diavad? Are they not masking the lechatchila should read the whole thing?
What do you mean? Yeah, it sounds like lechatchila. No, there's only b'diavad.
That's what I thought. I don't know.
No, kairei adam is a lashon hayve, isn't it?
The Yotzeba is a lashon b'diavad.
Yeah, but kairei.
Heicham kairei adam is hamegillah the Yotzeba. What's the least you could do to be Yotze?
I don't know. You see anybody see anything that this is a b'diavad?
I didn't see anything on this. I just thought Yotzeba is always b'diavad.
Yeah, but the Mishnah doesn't say that. Yotzeba means Yotze.
Mishnah said the Yotzeba.
I know, but that Yotze might mean you. If you read it, you Yotze.
Yeah, that's always b'diavad. If you do it like this, you Yotze. What should you do? You should do the whole thing. Of course, you should do the whole thing. But if you do it like this, you Yotze.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I hear. Fine. So that's the first way of the learning the machlokes. Rav Huna amar mehacho maro al kacho magi aleh. What did they see, and what are they getting? Right? Meaning what did they? It's there to tell people from future generations exactly what went on. Right? So mandam or kula, right? The one that says Kula, you have to read the whole Megillah. Mara, Achashverosh nishtamash b'kelim shel Beis Hamikdash. What did Achashverosh see that he decided to use the kelim of Beis Hamikdash? Al kacha mishum dechashav shivim shnin v'lo ifrik. And al kacha means he saw that they were like we had a few blot ago. That he saw that the 70 years they were not redeemed, so he thought, okay, he's home free. Umagi alayim the kotel Vashti. And what happened to him because of it? His wife died. Right? Uman Domer me ish Yehudi Mara Mordechai the Ikni Bahaman. What did Mordechai see? That he ticked off Haman. Al Kacha the Shabi Nafshe Avodah. Right? So he got upset because he made himself an Avodah Zarah. Right? Umagi alayim. And what reached him? What happened to him? This Rachash Nisa. And Mordechai had an ace that he survived. Uman Domer me Achar the one that says you start from Haman Mara Haman Shenis Kana B'Chola Yehudim. What did Haman see that he was so upset at all the Yidden? Al Kacha Mishum the Mordechai Liyichrav Layishtachav, because Mordechai didn't bow down to him. Mahagi Aleim. What happened to him? He and his kids were hung on a tree. And the one that says that it starts when Achashverosh couldn't sleep. What did Achashverosh see to bring Sefer Zechronos al Kafa on this? Because Esther was invited Haman. So he's wondering what's going on here. Right? And we said that he thought that there was a what do you call it against him? A coup attempt against him, and nobody was telling him because maybe he didn't pay somebody back. So then they got everything rolling. And they had a nace. So that's the way he understands those four the four shitas. Yeah. Allah is the ones that you have to say kula. See, this I found interesting, guys. I don't know if the Gemara is saying that the halacha is like the one that says kula. Right, David, this is what you were asking also. And even the one that says you start from Ish Yehudi, right? You still have to have the whole thing written. Right? Well, if you don't pasken like him, so who cares? You're saying we pasken, you got to do the whole thing. And even the sheet that it says not, why? Well, I understand. If you don't pasken like him, so what are we worried about it? Right? Okay, I don't know.
No, it's saying even according to the most makel shita, it's not as makel as you might think.
First of all, it's not the most makel shita. But who is the makel? Who is the most makel?
Right. I don't know if he necessarily knew.
He's talking about in the Mishna. He's going in the Mishna.
Right.
Okay, but what's a pshat? Okay, I don't know. All right, fine. Let's see. There's the horn. So, parents start the barbecue yet?
Naftali starts to panic.
That already started.
Yes.
Last week's horn.
Yes, I actually got an early start, Yaakov.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Yeah, fine. Megilah Nikras Sefer. Megilah is called a Sefer. For Nikras Igeris, and it's also called a letter. So what's a pshat? Nikras Sefer Shim Tafra Bechute Pishtan Psula. So a Sefer Torah, when you attach the pieces of the parchment, needs gidin, right, to attach it with. And Megilah, this has the din of a Sefer Torah, and therefore it can't be pishtan. It has to be actual gidin. Nikras Igeris. And it's called also a letter. That if you put 3 strings of gidin in it, then it's kosher. So Amar Rav Nachman Nachman says it's only kosher as long as it's the stitching is every third of the klaf. So Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel HaKarib Megilah Aksuva Ben Aksuvim. So if you read a Megillah that's written amongst the other ksuvim, meaning the Megillah has to be a separate Megillah, according to this shita, right? If you had it as like part of a Nach, like the equivalent of being part of a Nach, which is, you have, what's part of Ksuvim? Tehillim, then Mishle, whatever the order is, and then one of them is Esther.
They used to write an
has to be a separate Sefer. What do you say?
They used to write a Sefer Aftarta. A Sefer with every Haftarah laning and Megillah.
Oh, Sefer Haftarta, yeah, right. Yeah, they have those, right. So that would be no good. So it's not Yaitza. So Amar Rav Amar on Eladulem Michsura Miyasur Porta. That's only if the Megillah part of it is not either a bigger klaf or a smaller klaf. But if it's a bigger klaf or a smaller klaf, then it's okay because it looks separate. Machsura Miyasur Porta lesson, but there's no problem. Fine. Levi Bar Shmuel have a kakari kamed Rav Yehuda ben Megillah. So Levi Bar Shmuel was reading a Megillah in front of Rav Yehuda on Talmud base. Now Haksuba bein Aksuvim, and it was written bein Aksuvim. So Amar Lehare Amar Akar Megillah Aksuba bein Aksuvim layatza. You can't use that Megillah. Right? You're not yotza. Right? So that's it. So they told him you can't use it. Now a new thing. Rabbi Yochanan said if you read from this type of Megillah that's connected to the rest of the Ksuvim, you're not yotza. But then he hit himself on the head, which is quite an interesting lashon. And he says, Betzibur Shana, that's only if you're reading it Betzibur. But if you're reading it privately, then you're allowed to use it. Leaving over a little bit of the stitching towards the top of a Sefer Torah is halach l'maisha, meaning it's not supposed to be stitched all. If you look at a Sefer Torah, right, this is the way it is. Right? It's not stitched all the way to the top. It's only stitched whatever the shear is exactly. A little bit of a shear at the top that it's not stitched. And then he hit himself on the head. He says, it's not because there was any major philosophy behind it, just a practical, that when you roll the Sefer Torah, sometimes that parchment gets bent and it'll end up ripping. So if you leave, I guess you leave, what do you call it? Slack? You're leaving like slack. You're giving a little bit of slack, so therefore it's not going to rip. Fine. So now we get a couple of agaritas, and the reason why we bring it is because it's the same opinion. Same person. Moshe and Eliyahu both had the Nevi'as from Hashem in the same cave, right? So had the opening in the Ma'ara be bigger than Meloy Nekev Machat Sidkis, if the opening would be bigger than the hole of the top of a needle, they would not the light from the Shechina would be so strong that they would not be able to withstand it. Because no person could see me and live. I mean, they would have died. So that's why they were in a cave when they were having this Nevi'as. They were in a cave with a slight opening, and that's as much light. Otherwise, if they seen more light than that, they would have died. Fine.
That pasuk is used in Shabbos Miras. We're about to go into Shabbos with that pasuk too.
Which Zema?
Libya Basari.
I hear. Okay, I can't say. I would have thought about that on my own. Fine. And on them, all the things that I spoke to you on the mountain, right? That's referring to the Luchas Shnius. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe Diktukei Torah v'Diktukei Seifrim, and even the Rabbanons, Umasha Seifrim Asidim L'Chadesh, and he also showed him what the Rabbanon are going to be Mechadesh, Umay Nihu, Mikra Megillah. He even showed him the Megillah, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu was shown a lot of things on Har Sinai. Fine. Let's just do a little bit more. I call Ksharon L'Kris is in Megillah. Everybody's kosher to read the Megillah. Chutz Mecheres Shaita B'Katan, except for a Cheres and a Shaita and a Katan. Rabbi Yehuda Machsher B'Katan. Rabbi Yehuda says that a Katan is mutter. What we have? 10 minutes. What time is Liv Pension in New York? Here, 10 minutes. Okay, so we got him. Naftali, you all right? Is he there? Is he? Okay. It's a chaval. It's Erev Shabbos because this Taisus, the third Taisus down to the right, is a.
I'm here. I just want to
make sure you're okay. I want to just make sure you're okay, Naftali. That's all.
Jacob, that Taisus doesn't fall under the
Daf
Yomi guidelines in terms of length on it.
No, that's right. It does not fit into a two-liner, but it's no pun intended there, Naftali. But anyway, so
I'm okay. I have a 10-minute walk to shul. I just don't know how everyone gets there.
I hear you.
I opened my door, Naftali.
I got out of box today. What did you say?
Naftali, you have a basement. You could open a shul. Okay, that's all.
I didn't hear you.
You can open a shul in your basement.
Are you becoming the Rav?
No.
My tenant's moving out.
Anyways, this Taisus.
Oh my God, Naftali, you're gonna miss Shalosh Shudas if you keep going.
PM each other for details, okay?
That's right. So first of all, so what age cutting are we talking about? So Taisus asks, if he's not a Giyah L'Chinuch, so of course, how can he be Mitzi somebody? He's not a Giyah L'Chinuch, right? And if he's already a Giyah L'Chinuch, then why can't he? Right? He's a Chayiv. Rashi says the age of Chinuch here, it's interesting, Rashi gives the age here. Rashi says either 9 or 10. Right? Rashi in the Gemara says it. So Taisa says, no, the reason is because it's a double derabanan. Right, here's where you get into the whole lumdus, because a katan is a derabanan, chinuch is a derabanan, and Megilah is a derabanan. Right? So a double derabanan, Taisa says maybe you can't be mitzi a one derabanan. Right? So meaning it's not the same level of chiyuv. That's the Taisus. Whatever, it's a big zach. Fine. So mantana cheresh the eved nami loy. So who's the one that says that a cheresh even be the eved? Meaning, if people, again, obviously a cheresh is somebody who's deaf, so he's not hearing the Megillah. So we're talking about he's reading the Megillah, right? So since he's not yaitza, since he's not yaitza, so he will not be able to be mitzi anybody else. And even with the eved, let's say he does that.
Isn't this Seiser everywhere else in Shas where it says Cheresh?
Yes, so here you have it right here. Right, so here Cheresh is a little different. Right, normally it's Cheresh is a deaf mute. Here it cannot be. Right, it can't be. Otherwise, how's he reading the Megillah? Right. So that's here you have to say that on the table. Talking. Yeah. Turn off that heater. But anyways, yeah. So that's. But Lamais, if he reads it, who says you're not yotze even with the evidence? Amar Amasa Rabbi Yosi, it's not a kairas shema. Whoever reads, right? We had this machlokes 2 blot ago. If you read Shema and you don't hear it, you're yotze. Rabbi Yosi Amar lo yotze. You're not yotze because you didn't hear it. So Megilah must be that this is going according to Rabbi Yosi, and that's why you're not yotze. So Gemara asks, "Am I do Rabbi Yosi the Eved nami loy?" Who says it's Rabbi Yosi and even with the Eved you can't read it? Dilma Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda. And maybe the Mishna means that lechatchila you're not allowed to read the Megillah. How do you have it? Shabbat. But if you did read the Megillah, if the deaf person read the Megillah, you'd be yaitza. So my answer is lesagadaita. That can't be. The katani cheresh dumi the shait of a cotton, because we learned that the cheresh, the deaf person, is similar to a shait in a cotton. Ma shait of a cotton the evid nami lo. A shait in a cotton even by the evid you're not yaitza. Have cheresh the evid nami lo. So cheresh also by the evid you're not yaitza. So Gemara says, "But dilma hakadisa v'hakadisa." Okay, so just because one part of the Mishnah means lechatchila, the other one also has to mean lechatchila, or just because one Mishnah means b'di'evet, the other one has to be b'di'evet. Maybe one is lechatchila and one is b'di'evet. V'dilma had k'di'isa v'hakadisa. So Gemara says, "Mikatani Sefer Rabbi Yehuda machsher b'katan." This that the Sefer says that Rabbi Yehuda was machsher by a katan mechlal the reisha lav Rabbi Yehuda. It must be that the reisha is not Rabbi Yehuda.
Yaakov, maybe who says we're talking about he could be mitzi somebody else? He can't. Maybe not. The cases where they're laying on, if you're based on your gimel, only the farmers are yaitzer. Then the one who laying for them, he's not even yaitzer. He has to go laying in your dollar to tezvav again. He's not yaitzer. Nobody from the city is yaitzer. Only the farmers are yaitzer. So who said in this Mishnah he has to be mitzi? It's a cheresh is laying for himself, or Cotton's laying himself. You're saying what forces you to say he's being mitzi other people? Those other cases, they're not being mitzi anybody else. They're not even mitzi themselves. Not even mitzi themselves. Guy stands up in shul, has 100 farmers there. He has to go back and lay in your dollar for himself. He wasn't yaitzer.
Okay, but even for himself, so taka maybe. So let's say even if you say for himself. So what about for himself? Is he yaitza even b'di'evet for himself?
It can be for himself.
Well, let's say he did.
He has as much chiyuv to hear it as he has to read it. So if he's potter from Megilah,
right? But let's say
I'm not talking about somebody who's potter.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just finish up.
Be continued.
Yeah. So let's just finish up the teretz. But Dilma Kula Rabbi Yehudi, maybe the whole mission is Rabbi Yehuda. So Gemara says, "Meet dami reishul psula b'sei l'kshay," which is very interesting because Rashi takes out that's the next sentence because there's nothing to be gained from writing it. Okay, but then the Gemara says, "But Dilma Kula Rabbi Yehudi, maybe the whole price is really Rabbi Yehuda. The Mishna, I'm sorry, the whole Mishna is Rabbi Yehuda. Betray gavni katan katani. There's 2 types of katanim. B'chesuri b'chesarachi katani. Hakol ksher and likas amidila. Everybody's kosher in the deal. Chutz micheres shayt of a cotton, except micheres shayt of a cotton. But medvar will be cotton shalei yigi lechinuch. That's only by a cotton who hasn't yet reached the age of chinuch. Avo b'cotton shigi lechinuch. But if it's a cotton who already reached the age of chinuch, I feel lechatchila, maybe even lechatchila. Rabbi Yehuda masher b'cotton, because Rabbi Yehuda's masher a cotton, right? So therefore, right? So maybe only a cheresh is lechatchila, but he'd be okay. So the one answers, but my kimta, Rabbi Yehuda, who are you saying Rabbi Yehuda? Udiyevet, and it's b'diyevet. Elahad the Tani Rabbi Yehuda Breder of Shimon Pazi. Cheresh Amadaber Beine Shemeya, a cheresh who speaks but he can't hear. Tarim lechatchila, he's allowed to be mafresh truma. Lechatchila money. Who's that? Rabbi Yehuda diyevet in lechatchila life. It's Rabbi Yehuda. It's only b'diyevet. Rabbi Yaisi even diyevet nami life. Elamai Rabbi Yehuda must be the Mishna Rabbi Yehuda. Vafil lechatchila, and it's even lechatchila, right? And you're allowed to say Shema lechatchila. Elahad the Tanya. On this that it says in the Brayso lo yivarech Adam birchas hamazon beliba. A person should not say birchas hamazon in his heart. Bim beirach yatza money lo Rabbi Yehuda, lo Rabbi Yaisi. It's not Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbi Yaisi. Rabbi Yehuda fil lechatchila. If it's Rabbi Yehuda, even lechatchila, right? It's he's allowed. Rabbi Yaisi fil b'di'evanami lo. So lo ilam Rabbi Yehuda. Filo. Okay, you know what? We'll start this up again. It's too fast. It's too fast. We'll start this to Matzah Shabbos. Yeah. Okay. Fine. All righty. Have a good Shabbos, everybody. Okay.
Shabbos.
Go enjoy your walk.
Yeah.
Have a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Everybody should be healthy and well.
Amen.
Bye.